Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and the next expansion for World of Warcraft, Midnight, which is right now out for beta testing, might actually be one of the best experiences for any of you that are into collecting items, whether it is mounts or whether it is some of the housing decorations that you'll be able to use and customize in the outside and the inside of your home in the next expansion, or potentially those of you that are big into transmog collections. And those of you that are really into WoW fashion will be very happy the transmogrification system is getting much needed love in Midnight. And they're doing a huge number of changes, from a brand new massive UI where you can see all of your different sets and transmogs, even better customizability where you customize the slot of the transmog set instead of the item, which is going to allow you to keep that visual consistency that you really want out of your characters. But there's also even new ways for you to be able to change your transmog on the fly in various different situations. Whether you're visiting your home in your neighborhood, whether you're queuing up for some battlegrounds or dungeons, or whether you're out and about exploring the open world, where you can literally put on a whole scuba outfit if you want to as soon as you enter deep blue waters. So with this much customization, I wanted to go over all of the detailed new things that are coming to the transmog system in Midnight, going over all of the changes, how the slot system functions, all the different outfits that you make, but also one possibly big drawback to the system that could potentially hold it back unless we see some further changes in the future. With that being said, if you guys want to see more Midnight updates, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. So the fan favorite feature of Transmogs has definitely gone through a large number of changes in Midnight, and if you're on the Midnight beta and hanging around in Silvermoon, if you are trying to access the Transmog vendors, you'll actually find them either on players that are mounted on their yaks, or if you just need a specific vendor, go to Murder Row and there should be a shop over here called Second Identity that has ethereals that will give you access to all of your transmogrification needs. Now, first of all, before we really take a look at what changed in the Midnight transmogrification section, which is a lot in fact, we first want to outline exactly what makes up the transmog system right now over on the live realms. The current library version of the transmog system allows you to transmog individual items, which is very important, especially when you're like transmogrifying items on a character. It allows you to get a variety of different items and weapons and sets in order to customize the character however you want it to look. And let's say you got a brand new character, you're about to start leveling through an expansion, maybe through Legion Remix, you customize all the pieces of your character, and a couple of hours in, a couple of quests in, you've gotten enough pieces to replace some of your items, and now you got that classic clown look, where none of your pieces really match up together because now your mog is pretty much broken up into different pieces. So then you have to go back to the capital city or hop on your yak to transmog your character out in the field in order to make sure that you keep that consistent appearance for your character, and you have to do that every single time you get any new pieces, whether you have a max level character or a lower level character. One of the biggest differences in Midnight transmogging is you're now transmogrifying a slot of gear. So it doesn't matter, let's say, what kind of a helm I'm wearing, my character will always going to have the Kelderai Queen's crown in there. So if I switch over to a different helm, and you can see my character, like normally if I have a new helm, it switches the appearance. As I change the helm, my appearance stays. If I take off a helm, appearance goes away, but if any helm I put on, keeps that same appearance. But transmogrifying a slot, you're actually making it that much easier for you to retain that whole holistic look of your character. There is some limitations, like monks technically can wield a two-handed weapon or a dual wield, one-handers. So if, let's say, I transmog this staff or this polearm, if I change my weapon setup like while leveling to one-handers, I am going to break some of those transmogs unless I have a transmog setup for one-handers specifically. So there are some limitations in weapons specifically, but as long as you're keeping that same weapon consistency, so like as a shaman, if you're running around with one-handers, swords, axes, fists, or maces, as long as they're one-handers, they should retain a lot of the transmog consistency throughout anyway. Now, some of the other details of the transmog system, which are obviously apparent. First of all, the UI is completely different. You have a much bigger window, and this isn't me enlarging it. This is just baseline window for me for seeing my transmog in your character. You have a full preview, can get all the details, all the pieces of a character to make sure that you are satisfied with the mog on the character in that neutral lighting, just to make sure that you're fully satisfied with the way that you look on your character before you go out in the open world. And it gives you a pretty big window of items that you can swap in and swap out at any moment, just showing you the entirety of your screen, of your transmog collection through all these different pages that allows you to scroll through it. There's also search functionality, so if you want to type in I don't know, Dragonflight sets or possibly Pandaria maybe. You get some Pandaria specific pieces there, so the search functionality still needs a bit of improvement, but it also has these different sources. So if you're looking for just a bunch of maybe mods from the trading post that you picked up recently, you can try them out at any time you see wish. Except I know this isn't a trading post set. I'm not sure why it's showing up here specifically. But yeah, some of the sets apparently are not showing up as intended. You also see how the functionality to apply sets of gear on a character if, let's say, you are not happy with the set you're currently running and you want to mess around and customize it, or if you have some pre-made custom sets of gear that you've created in the past, you're more than welcome to start running those anytime you want to on a character. So there's all that same functionality that you've had in the past. You'll still be able to do so heading into midnight. What's also pretty cool is you can actually purchase and save all of your sets of gear. You do have a whole new window for purchases and outfits, but then the outfits themselves, as you do save them, they do function a lot differently. So let's say you are trying to make, let's say, a brand new outfit. You have to first purchase a slot, which don't start out all that expensive at first. And let's say you want to make a set that says, I don't know, Pandaria. There we go. I could definitely spell. There we go. It took me a second to find some of the Pandaria icons, but you basically will be able to do the same thing as before. And let's say you're trying to give yourself like a full Pandaren look for your character. And I thought this remix set would actually look fantastic. Maybe not the cloak, but all the other pieces, they do look really good. Actually, let's just put a little baby raptor thing in the back. That looks fantastic. So then you can now save that outfit. And what's cool is you can actually extract those outfits onto your bars and keep them at all times. And this is the most unique part of this whole system. Normally, if you want to change a whole set for your character, you first need to go to the Transmog guy and then set the set. But now you can just kind of change your sets anytime you want to, out in the open world or literally anywhere you are. So once you set up those sets, once you unlock those outfits and you've created them and you save them, you can basically put them on your bars and change it to them anytime you want to, which is incredibly cool. It opens up a lot of that restrictions of how Transmogs used to function from way back in the day, giving you a lot more of that in-moment customizability, which also allows you to start using those sets as part of situations, since the game can now automatically switch to those sets depending on which situation you are in. And that is one of the coolest parts of this whole system, is the situations allows you to go to the set and then select which situation you want it to be used in. And there's a variety of different stuff out there. So you could have a set for open world content, like when you're out questing, or something that you wear for rested areas, like when you finally head back to like a capital city, something that's maybe a little bit more relaxed, not as battle ready of a character look. You can have a set for dungeons, a separate set for raids, PvP, delves, all the different kinds of content from even arenas and battlegrounds. But there's also sets for different movement, like unmounted, or if you're swimming and you want to go for like swim trunks type of set, or ground mount and you want to look like a, I don't know, a rider for like a chopper bikes mount, or a flying mount, you want to get those flying goggles on, you could totally do so as well. And of course, you can set it up between different specializations, so you could have a bunch of these variations for Brewmaster, Mistweaver, or Windwalker. And what's cool is all of these sets will swap in automatically. As soon as you mount that mount, it changes to your set. It doesn't stop you from playing the game. I don't think it occurs a global cooldown either when you do things like this, and it happens pretty frequently. You do have to be very specific in terms of like some of the sets that you make, because sometimes, let's say like I set up a set for flying and then I go flying and I exit from like Stormwind into the open world. It actually changes to my open world set instead of my flying set. So you need to be very specific with the situations if you're really trying to nail down which mods you use for which scenarios, but you can really just go get fully creative with it if that's what you want to do. And there's so much customization that comes to your character's visual appearance in any situation you are in, which I think can be a lot of fun, and something I think players that are really into Transmogs are definitely going to lean into heavily. There's loads of different possible mod combinations that you can create for many different scenarios out there. Whether you just have a few like for endgame situations, or if you just want to have like a really cozy outfit for when you finally head to your house in the Ogrimmar or the Stormwind housing neighborhoods, you can totally do so as well. So it's easy to see the entire system has actually expanded quite a little bit. By little, I mean quite a lot. But there's still one thing, however, that holds things back. Not everything, like it sounds too good to be true, this whole Transmog system. However, if you ever notice like the price of things, you will notice that prices have changed quite a decent bit since this Transmog system has arrived. And that is probably the biggest thing that could potentially hold the system back. As you can see, every single time I purchase a new outfit, it goes up in price. First one was like a couple of hundred, maybe 200, 500, 1,000, 2,000, and then the next one is 5,000. That's going up very, very quickly. Let's say you are trying to make a whole new outfit, and let's say it's going to be maybe one of the outfits that are already collected from a while back. I like this green one a lot. If you try to equip the entire thing to save to this one outfit, it'll cost you 5,850 gold, which is ludicrous. Compared to Live Realms, it costs you maybe like 500 or 600 to transmogrify the entire set head to toe, every single item on that character. But if let's say you're trying to go for this red Dragonflight set with a bit of the Chi staff, it's going to cost you almost 6,000 gold just for a couple of pieces, which is absolutely absurd. And some of these sets, like this one, 8,000. I'm not exactly sure why it went up for any reason, but this one for some reason now costs 8,000. So you can see the costs are actually getting really ridiculously high. Transmogrification on its own was a system that was included in the game as a way to like players having a gold sink. Let's say players have a bunch of gold, they don't really know what to do with it, right? Transmogrification was one of the systems that was designed to help players sink their gold into something. Transmogs on their own were not like giga expensive or anything like that, but they were like costly enough where it took a little bit of your gold, but not that much. It was just something that you could funnel gold into, and if you constantly mogged, you might have been somebody that potentially could have ran out of gold at some point or another in the past. It's not uncommon, but it is kind of difficult for many players to accomplish unless you're somebody who's just swapping mogs every other day of the week. But these high costs, at least what we have right now over in the beta, which are not set in stone for the moment, they are a bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, you get to customize all these sets and you get to keep them and switch into them anytime you want to. So that is a pretty big advantage, right? Running around and getting to go into a full new set of weapons and enchants and all those things at any time you want to, there is a benefit to it. Not having to replace those items as you're questing or doing endgame content and replacing your gear, there is a benefit to it. It's just there's a bit of an upfront cost the first time you do it. My biggest issue if you are trying to make transmogs too expensive is you have so many cool systems for players to express yourself, but now you're basically adding a price tag, at least a gold one, on how you can express yourself. And for some players that, let's say, are just not great at making gold, you know, possibly the WoW token comes to mind as, hey, this could possibly solve all of my transmogrification problems, which I don't like at all. But that is technically a solution, quote unquote. It's almost like Blizzard made a problem for themselves that they're selling you the solution. I don't think that's what they're trying to do. I'm hoping that's what they're trying to do, but you can see where somebody might come to that conclusion. Anyway, gold is something that is spent in WoW for a number of things right now, and it could be spent on endgame gearing or consumables for endgame content within Midnight. Gold is also going to have a pretty big price over on the housing market as you're trying to buy all the different decor to apply to your house, or potentially buy from the auction house as some players get into the housing professions. Gold, I feel like in Midnight in particular, is becoming more valuable than ever because it still retains a value, whether you're playing endgame or whether you're playing house. And in Midnight, this whole gold price increases for transmogrification can potentially impact that as well. So I think in the long term, because there's so much cool customizability and freedom of expression, I think the prices at the bare minimum in Midnight should probably be reduced, like drastically reduced. Like instead of having you pay like, I don't know, 5,000 gold per set, 500 I think is more than enough. Just allowing players as much freedom with their customizability as much as they want to. So I feel like keeping it affordable where players can customize and do all these things, I think would be fine. Maybe if they want to keep like the prices a little bit higher on like the purchase outfit slots, I think maybe that could be somewhat reasonable of an investment. But once you have them, you have all these different slots and all these different mogs that you can swap into any moment. I think just the actual customization of like setting that set to begin with, I don't think that should cost you an arm and a leg specifically. I think that is a little too much, to be honest. Well, with that being said, as usual, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching and hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give it a like, as I would very much appreciate it. Also be sure to join our Discord community, especially if you want to keep up with all of the newest updates when it comes to Midnight, whether it is class changes, whether it is new features, or any major adjustments heading into this expansion. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.